Welcome to Weekend Wisdom by Creating a Family. As you may know, Creating a Family is a national support and training nonprofit for foster, adoptive, and kinship families. And this segment of our podcast is part of our attempt to have a short form podcast answering a specific question or addressing a specific topic. We also have a long form podcast called Creating a Family, talk about foster adoption and kinship care, and that's long form. It's 1 hour of an interview with an expert. So welcome to Weekend Wisdom. Today we're going to be talking about post-adoption depression. It is more common and it needs to be talked about more. Here is a question. I adopted my son 4 months ago. It took me almost 3 years, and I am supposed to be living my dream. Instead, I just feel frustrated, sad, and sometimes even angry. I don't know what's wrong with me. It's not like my hormones are all messed up from giving birth. It's a good question, and it's a good misperception in a sense. We do think of postpartum depression as being connected to the hormones that are out of whack inside of the woman's body. But anytime you go through a major life change, and adoption, or anytime you add a child to the family in any way, it is a major life change. And every adoptive parent expects that after working so hard to become a parent, that they're going to feel nothing but joy and thankfulness at the gift of their child. And honestly, very often, this is exactly what they do feel. Of course, realistically, we know that these feelings of joy can be mixed with feelings of being overwhelmed and exhausted, and feelings of, oh my God, what have I gotten myself into? And feelings of, all I want is a night. I want to have 2 hours of sleep uninterrupted. That's all I'm asking for. And sometimes they are complicated with the worry of, I didn't fall madly in love at first with this child. What's wrong with me? That is another common thing that adoptive parents can sometimes feel. They can also feel I feel like a babysitter. I feel like I'm a fraud. Am I the real mom? Is this child going to always long for the hands, the arms, the comfort of their biological mom? It's complicated. Adoption is a complicated thing. And you add all those complications onto a major life change. And we shouldn't be surprised that sometimes we're feeling depressed. And sometimes these feelings of sadness and tiredness and heaviness get to the point where it just feels overwhelming. I have not seen any research on how many adoptive parents experience depression post-adoption, but I can say anecdotally from members of our online support community, we believe that there are a couple of factors that play into people feeling post-adoption depression and also the degree that they might feel. One, we see it more often with parents who have not resolved their grief over not having a biologically related child. I don't know if this is an issue with our questioner, but that often is an issue. And sometimes we jump off the infertility treatment escalator so quick, we jump immediately onto the adoption escalator. I think of it in terms of two escalators going up. And they're two very different ways of creating your family. And what we need to do, and we don't do a good job of this, in my opinion, in the infertility world, there's little encouragement. In the adoption world, there is more encouragement to take time to think through and acknowledge your grief, but not enough oftentimes. It is important to get off, especially if you've been in treatment or have been just trying without treatment for a long time. There are a lot of losses associated with that decision. And there's nothing wrong with saying that there are losses. And it's important for you to acknowledge those and honor those and allow yourself to grieve. At creatingafamily.org, we have a lot of resources to help you do just that. A second thing that we see that can lend itself to post-adoption depression is parents having unrealistic expectations of what the transition period will be like. This is especially true when adopting children past infancy. They may have thought, this kid's going to have it a lot better with us. They're going to be grateful. They're going to be appreciative. This is a good thing. Well, good news here, guys, or bad news. Children are not designed to feel grateful. They shouldn't be grateful to their parents anyway. They aren't going to, at least not until they're in their mid-20s. So if you've adopted an older child, then you need to have realistic expectations of what they're going to be like, how they're going to feel, how their behavior will look like. And if their behaviors, their challenges, learning challenges, behavior challenges, medical challenges, whatever, are different from what you were prepared for, that is something you have to adjust to. And that adjustment can lead to depression. Another thing that we see that can lend itself to post-adoption depression is parents not having people who they can confide their fears and their concerns. The worst thing we can do when we are feeling frustrated and sad, when we're supposed to be, as the questioner said, living our dream, is to bottle it all up, to feel guilty about it, to not include it, to not share that with other people. You need people in your life that you can say, "Oh, this is a lot harder than I thought." And they will understand and not say, "I told you so." You need to find those people in your life. I cannot stress strongly enough that support groups can really be helpful. And I think one of the best is the Creating a Family one. You can find it on facebook.com/groups/creating a family. And the last thing that we have seen that lends to people struggling with post-adoption of depression is if you have had depression in the past or were currently depressed prior to the adoption. So if you are struggling post-adoption, the first thing you need to know is that you are absolutely not alone. This is not a reflection on you or your child or your eventual adjustment or how good a mom you're going to be, or a dad, how good of a parent, I should say, you're going to be. You need to talk with the first person you can reach out to is your adoption social worker. She really isn't going to judge you, and she can help. The other thing is get yourself into counseling. And in the meantime, as I mentioned before, join either an in-person or an online support group and share there. You're going to find a great deal. It really helps when you post. We see it all the time in the Creating a Family Facebook group. Somebody will post what they're feeling and they're scared to do it because they think they're going to be slammed. And what happens is they have so many people come and say, "I felt that exact same way," or "I felt even worse," or "This is what my experience was." And knowing that other people have gone through it takes some of the pressure off of there is something really wrong with me. However, if you have fears of harming yourself or your child, you need to get help immediately. Call 988, which is the Suicide and Crisis Lifeline. You also need to tell somebody immediately in your everyday life, be it your partner, your pediatrician, your parent, your friend. Tell somebody immediately and get yourself help. Before you leave, I want to tell you about a really strong resource that we're offering here at Creating a Family. It is an interactive training. It could be used as a small group training for adoptive, foster, or kinship parents, or it could be used as a support group curriculum. It is interactive. It's a lot of discussion. It is educational. It's a video-based program, so it's super easy to use. You show it, and the video pauses. It tells you what to discuss, leaves you with 2 points you need to practice and work on in the next month. It is super easy to use. We have 25 curriculum in the library. It can be used for online or in-person groups. Check it out at parentsupportgroups.org. That's one way, parentsupportgroups.org, or you could go to creatingafamily.org and hover over the training section and click on curriculum. Thanks for listening today. Check us out next week.